They're broken.
Good morning, Malcolm. This is our qualified administration of COSCA.
We've started the broadcast.
I can see him, but I don't think he. Hang on, we just got a little.
Okay.
Who's giving you a thumbs up? I can tell you, no, thumbs up. Are they going to have a?
I don't think we're going to be able to hear him. He can hear us. Say hello. And he's going to participate to the extent he can.
They're broken.
Good morning, Malcolm.
We've started the broadcast.
We do have some prayer.
We can see him, but I don't think he knows what's going on.
Great for me, after the United States, I'm doing this since 2013. I am doing this Dr. Worthy from the it also studying for and then the service is the Gideonites canon in the Episcopal Church. That's the theological canon, that's paid authorities. But he also became a lawyer and eventually an advocate, as a trial lawyer, and now sits as a judge in other courts as well, mental tribunal and immigration and asylum. But I think those activities are winding down as the law-abiding duties take over. Still, the most enthusiastic role, Chatham and Lawrence Castle, for example, has been deputy law defendant in Dundee, vice law.
Okay.
Does that make you a philosophical as well? No, I think it was. Very something with the tea. You take your own votes. And many things too, for a number of cities in Scotland. But he is now our wine. And I think we can all look forward to a new Gold Beach or Edinburgh in Scotland, which I will tell you about. I give you great words. Canon, Doctor, who's the world?
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can all hear me. I won't use the microphone if that's all right. Does everybody hear me at the back? Yeah. Excellent. First of all, can I say how delighted I am to be here in this village just over my first year as Lord Lyon, but also to be in North Carolina. This is the first time I've visited here, although I've spent 2 extended periods in the States, once in New York for 15 months studying, and then a year in Iowa when I was teaching in Iowa. And everyone said to me, why are you going to Iowa? And every time I spoke to someone, they kept asking me, why Iowa? And yet I found the people there to be absolutely delightful. And so I'm glad to be back in the States and to be encouraging this event and also be making new friends. Although there's many old friends here from my time in Scotland, and you would have seen that from Bruce and I, who actually worked together 40 years ago as students in our summer job. And I really want you to know that I'm really doing much better than he is in terms of the looks. And to get him up here, I think that's preserved pretty well. But we had and it was great to meet up with Bruce again and other people to renew some of the relationships, which is really what the Lord Lyons Post is about. It's about bonds. And let me kind of elaborate out on that of bonds and what I mean by that. Many of you know that the Lord Lyons Post was established in 1318 by Robert Bruce, and the first Lord Lyon, or first Lyon, was inaugurated at Arbroath Abbey. Now, I'm told that is absolutely correct because Lord Eldred, the Chief of Bruce, wrote to me to tell me that, and I would never dream about accepting that other than absolutely. But Lord Lyons has followed through since 1318 in various roles, but primarily has been able to act for the monarch with regard to arms and names. Lots of those titles go with it are part and parcel of what's made the Lord Lyon a particular post today in Scotland. Many of you will know that it is in fact part of the legal system in Scotland, that heraldry, that the protection of arms and the name is actually built into the law of Scotland. It's the last jurisdiction of its type in the world. There is a heraldic court in England, but it hasn't sat since 1946 or 47, and there are other authorities, but Scotland has the force of the law behind all that it does with regard to heraldry and names within its jurisdiction. And that's important, because I think as you listen to some of the speakers earlier, the idea of family, name and clan is part of the very fabric that makes Scotland work. And that particular aspect of Scottish life has been enshrined in the Post of the Lord Lyon through making it part of the laws of Scotland. And these laws are quite extensive. For example, if someone misuses arms, I have the right to confiscate the offending item. And in a past Lord Lyon is renowned to have confiscated 50,000 cans of beer with the arms. I don't know where they all went. In fact, it was all gone by the time I took up all this. A previous Lord Lyon impounded a British Airways plane because it had arms on the end of it, and a previous Lord Lyon also sent a mason out with a chisel and a hammer to remove arms from the wall that were put on a house illegally. So they're quite extensive powers, and in many ways quite forceful in terms of the protection of the armed names of Scotland. I just got myself into a little trouble in Scotland, and it wasn't even my responsibility. It was the Procurator Fiscal, the prosecutor in the Lyon Court. Airdrieonians is a local football team, and they have illegal arms, and the Procurator Fiscal wrote to them to say they desist from using them to protect them in case anyone stole their arms. And the Daily Record, which is our local, which is our national rag, had a big headline that had Adrianians nil, Lord Lyon 1. I had it cut out and I've got it framed in the office. And it tends to be my motto for the period that I have as Lord Lyon, which is to actually be X0, Lord Lyon 1. I intend to win all the games that I get involved in and make sure that I keep the tradition of Scotland fairly protected and for the future and for other generations. So that's the office. And in the office there's threefold function. I'm certainly commissioned by the Queen, to carry out the royal prerogative in the granting of arms and the identification of titles and also all the state ceremonies. I was delighted just 2 weeks ago to take part in the proclamation for the new Westminster Parliament at the Market Cross in Edinburgh, which was a ceremony that's gone on for a long time. And it used to be a ceremony that took place 3 days after the dissolution of Parliament in London, because it took 3 days for the horsemen to get up to make the ceremony. I did away with that. I did it on the same day as the mayor proclaimed the new Parliament in London, because we're in a different age. And I think that's something that you will have to get used to in my term as Lion, that I really see us being in a different age. And I see no point in holding on to traditions that really don't speak to this generation and forward our work into the future. That doesn't mean I'm all for throwing out the past, because that's easy for me to say, but I am about looking forward to where we're going to go. And it seemed to me to be wholly unnecessary in an age in which I can deal with all my business from the hotel in Huntersville all over the world, for us to wait 3 days to make the proclamation in Scotland. But it was a great day. I was in full regalia. I walked in between 2 columns of soldiers down the Royal Mile with a pipe band in front of me. The proclamation was made. I was terrified. There was 2,000 visitors in the Market Cross, and I was terrified. It was my first real public proclamation, but it was fine. It was absolutely fine. Other than I got caught at the end of the proclamation in a loud voice saying to the other officers at arms, "About turn down the stairs in the way you came up." And it was broadcast throughout all the street, so that it would be picked up by the radio mic. But I don't make any apologies for that. I didn't want them to go down in a different order from which they did. So there is this side of the Lord Lion's post, which is actually to represent and to act for the sovereign in those aspects of heraldry and also the state ceremonial. The other aspect of the post is the advising of people broadly in Scottish government and beyond about what needs to take place in terms of activities around ceremonial. And not next year, but the year after, we'll be calling a new Scottish Parliament, and we've introduced into the Scottish Parliament a kind of ceremonial which the Lord Lion takes place, in which the old Scottish crown is carried in, and it's given a real sovereignty to the opening of the Scottish Parliament as well. And then the final bit, which actually is probably in many ways the most significant bit, is the actual judge of the realm when I decide on heraldic and genealogical activities. And that's probably the bit that interests most. Now, I absolutely love that. By nature, I have a judicial mind. I mean, I'm president of the Mental Health Court for Scotland, senior judge there. I've served on the deportation courts, I've done family courts, criminal courts. So for me to act as a judge is something that I find very easy indeed. One of the things that and I don't mind if this goes out throughout the world, one of the things that if you like, made me most fed up when I started as Lord Lion was the number of people who would come directly, eyeball me and say, "I didn't like a decision, I'm going to appeal you." What they would do is they would do it roundabout to make sure I got a comment back. Well, my view is you have the right to appeal my decisions to the higher court. Bring it on. And I really don't have a concern about that. And you need to probably get that measure of me as a person. I mean, if anything, I'm not opposed to actually someone challenging you. I think challenge is what makes you a better person, that makes you able to get things correct, and certainly to improve and to move forward. That challenge is essential. But make sure you know your stuff if you're coming after me. That's all I can say. And the thread of actual challenge is something that I take with very light touch, because it is people's rights to challenge, in certain aspects, the decisions of the Lord Lion and take it to the higher courts. Whether it ever gets to success is another matter. Lots of my decisions, you need to know, though, are unchallengeable. have an absolute discretion on a number of issues. And that's why I think it's important that the Lord Line exposes themselves to people like you, both not only in Scotland but abroad, because it moderates that discretion. I don't believe there is any real function in absolute discretion. Discretion only works where people see where it is you're trying to go and what you're trying to achieve. And so therefore, this engagement is extremely important for me. But I love that type of work. What is that type of work? Well, recently I had to decide on the appointment of a chief for a lowland clan. The case came to me in a fairly advanced state, and I had to work my way through 3.5 centuries of legal documents to prove whether this chap was actually this particular clan or not. Fascinating stuff, absolutely fascinating stuff. I had, of course, the benefit of the Rossi era, and probably one of the most eminent lawyers in this particular field. But it was an amazing revelation of how a family and the bonds had developed over many centuries around about this family, and they still harked back to the undifferenced arms which represented the chiefly line of this particular family. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating stuff. The other area that I have to adjudicate on are often about the appointment of commanders to clans with no chief. Now, what I would like to sort of explore a wee bit, just lightly with you, is that my view about this is it should be done as far as possible by consensus. I think clan work in today's world really should be about identifying someone that people get behind the chiefly line has fallen away. It's not about identifying who's got the strongest hand in terms of the amount of money they can put up, or who's got the strongest hand with regard to the amount of force they can put into it. It's much more of a consensus process. And that's the way it's gone. That many of the family conventions that have been held in a way in which people have come to a consensus. Can I encourage that? Because I think that's the way that we need to go forward. And it links back to my concept earlier about what we're about in the line office is about bonds. Bonds of things that hold us together as Scots or Scots descendants, wherever we may be. So very fascinating work, very fascinating work. So I can, if necessary, recognise you as a chief if you're on that line. Some of it's very easy, some of it's most complicated. Also start to give some identity and to the bonds of people who see themselves as a clan who may have lost the bloodline of their chiefship as well. And that's part of the function of actually the Lions office. Very privileged position to be in. Our registers tell the stories of families and of individuals throughout the centuries. Our registers that survive go back to the 17th century. All the arms, all the destinations, all the history is written by hand onto vellum and bound in the most magnificent books that are available for public view. So any of you are ever in Edinburgh, you're most welcome to come and see them, and particularly if you're interested to see the actual original entry for your clan chief. That will be there. And so please use our office. It is my intention to actually look to how we can make this material more accessible. And I think it must be hard for those of you who are here in the States when these books are all physically in Edinburgh to get access to them. And in this coming year, I hope to be able to set up a Lion Office Foundation and to externalise some funds from our Heritage Lottery Fund to be able to digitise these and make them available to you. So you'll be able to actually access them. But it will take 2 or 3 years to take that work forward. I'm quite into IT. Don't understand it. Don't even understand it. But I now gather that the report to the Lord Lions on Twitter. I don't even know what Twitter is. But I can tell you that we have a young man in the office who regularly posts bits and pieces about where I've been and what we've done, and it's a marvelous tool to allow the next generation to access what it is that we're doing. Now, there is absolutely no point in us shuffling around bits of paper in the world in which you live, because the next generation simply don't use that. I mean, all of you here, if one thing I can say, besides the warmth and the appreciation that I've felt since I've arrived here from you, is that very few of you don't have a mobile phone in your hand at one part of the day. And that's part and parcel. That's what's fair. It wouldn't give me a right. That's good. In another court, you get the jail for using that. We'll not do that here. It's called contempt. But it is something. It is something that people use, and therefore I'm quite keen to see the work of the Lions Court brought into that particular arena so that people can access the information about it. And I'm often asked, is it about the preservation of these ancient documents that I want to digitize them for, or is it accessibility? And I have to say it's about accessibility. It would be the primary function for me, because accessibility is about people. It's about you and others and future generations accessing the history or the bonds that make us Scots as individuals. So that's where I'm coming from. The other thing that you probably need to know about the approach I'll take is I'm much more easily persuaded about things if I think they're right. So if people think they've got something that they want to see happen, then it's worth sharing it with them. Because I think improvement and how we actually establish and link those bonds that are part and parcel of the clan system and part of Scotland is important that everybody's views taken into account with regard to that. So I'm pretty permissive in terms of what I might look at, and nothing other than to keep to the ancient rules of heraldry would be knocked out. So ask. The only answer that you hope to be is the answer no, and that's particularly a harsh answer. It will be because I'll have a reason for doing that. So I want to develop a kind of interplay, accessibility, and availability of the Lion Court with those not only in Scotland but beyond. So use that facility as it develops over the years. So that's a very exciting kind of agenda for me, and in many ways I'm working in a contemporary field in terms of being senior judge in the mental health court, and in a sense an archaic field in the Lord Lyons area. But they are both about people and about making people feel integrated and moving things forward. And that would really be the message I would want to send out. Now, there's lots of technical questions that people always want to ask Lion. Technical question. Now, my experience, even after 15 months, is a technical question means that they're usually looking for something. But they want to hide it under a technical question. If you're looking for something, ask, because I'm absolutely straightforward. I will look at you with a glazed look. It's an obscure technical question to me, but I don't understand where it's coming from and what it's all about. If you want to be granted on a particular basis that you can prove that would bring you in my jurisdiction, tell me that. Don't talk to me about some 17th century book that said X about Y, Z, and A. Talk about it directly, and I may be able to assist you in terms of actually moving that forward. So get the idea, really, that I'm not there to give everybody the answer they want, that I am there to be actually someone who's approachable and takes things forward. It's about the bonds that link us together, the bonds that make us Scots, whether we be here in the United States, whether we be in Australia, or whether we be back home in Scotland. So that's the kind of agenda that I want to work with, and in particular with those who want to kind of move our movement forward in terms of its understanding. Lots of stuff in terms of the practicalities that come out of there. Lots of stuff about how do you do in a particular situation, and these are questions that I'm happy to actually take or to to deal with at a different stage. But for me, one of the strengths of Scotland, and I mean Scotland in its broadest sense, not just our geographical Scotland, is this concept of bond. And you don't need to go very far to see how that works out in our own lives, in our community lives, and in our national life. I'm fascinated to actually come to the States and just discover the influence the Scots had here. And many of you will be more aware of that than I am. I recently had a visit to the White House, where the foundation stones bear marks of master masons from the Operative Lodge of number 8 in Edinburgh. So the masons who built the foundations of the White House came from Edinburgh to establish that. I was off in Iowa, in the middle of corn and pigs and fields, and somebody piped a haggis in after church. I don't know where they got it, but they brought it in. So the influence there, that stops right through the world, but in particular in America, is just part and parcel of society. And it's part of that bond that seems to me to keep us together. The real sense of us being together in one bond, whether that's a clan or whether that's as a nation or a family, that's something that's part and parcel of, I think, a lot of American life, and certainly is a part and parcel of Scottish life. So value those national links. Value them, but also let's try to get them right. I'm not a great lover of myth. I don't believe that Mickey Mouse was a Scotsman, for example, no matter what you try to do. And these are the sorts of myths that sometimes get around in a more subtle way. So we need to get to the truth and the understanding of actually what that bond is between Scots and Americans. But it's there, absolutely there. And I've spoken to a number of suppers here in America and just couldn't believe the kind of technical correctness of some of the burn suppers. Couldn't believe how much people enjoy material that I find difficult to follow sometimes in the Doric. But in fact, there was lots with a scholarly interest in it. So the link between America and Scotland is vital, but it's built on this idea of bonding us together. And heaven knows we need that in the world in which we live. I mean, I kind of not political, but when you look at some of the things that are going on within our world, yet we need to build together the idea of fraternity and bonding across nations to make sure we can establish peace and prosperity for everyone, basically. But not only there, you've got a particular interest here in Scotland and in America with the Scots through the clan movement, and it's something I could not be more supportive of. And I've been speaking to Malcolm even in the last few days about how we look at how we would reach a consensus about what the view of a clan is. And it's a very important discussion to have. You'll have all sorts of purists with views whether it's only Highland clans or Highland families or Lowland clans and Lowland families, but there needs to be a discussion, a conversation of actually how we determine what the nature of a clan is, built on a modern understanding of actually what the bonds are that link this together. But finally, for me, the important thing about this concept of bond is it gives us a certain understanding of self, and that's something that makes us able to contribute in the communities in which we live. So if we understand where we come from, what we do, and how we do it, and how we're bound together, whether it be through a family, a clan, or nations together, it makes us productive folk. It enables us to go out to carry out in the world in which we live important things that leave the place better if we weren't there. And I believe the movement you're involved in, I believe that the type of events like this are about leaving us with a better world. And therefore, I'm committed to that sense of self, that the bonds of being Scots that have that particular relationship with clans and a nation bring to each one of you individually. As Lord Lyon, I will do everything I can to promote that, and I'll certainly, it will be having mixed views at home. I know that there's a kind of uncertain level of uncomfortability about modernising the office and about trying to move it forward. I see no future for anything that doesn't actually move forward, and that would also apply to you and your individual understanding of what it means to be a member of a clan or a Scottish family, and that's where you stick with. You've got some great people here in this country with lots of enthusiasm. Let's drive that. Let's drive that and let's move ourselves forward. And I can assure you that you'll have my support in any way I can to make sure that happens. So as far as the court is concerned itself, to have an openness that will allow you to actually approach us and to find out what we can do for you. Thank you again for the invitation to come here. Keep up all of this great work, and also let's look to the future, because it would be good even at the end of the month to be able to actually see that these seats have still got people in them and come along to situations like this. But still people who are contributing, bonding together through national identity, through family and clan life, but also self-reliant as contributors to the community in which they live. And I bring you with fraternal greetings of those in Edinburgh and Scotland who watch and are concerned about your work. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, very rarely you get a feel for the hospital, and there was a particular piece of land in Caucus. And the Caucus are in the process to identify a chief. And Michael was out there going to petition all Ryan to hold a family convention so they can begin that process.
We're like have Calpine worldwide, our officers and our arbiters present to you our position in hopes that you will assemble a family convention for the purpose of identifying a man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This will go back into the files. It will be dealt with independently and judicially, so there's no answer given now to it. And I will consider it when I get back to Edinburgh, and if it's within the kind of parameters of acceptability, then I will appoint those that will be in charge of the supervision of the next part of the process. I should say we've had an upsurge of requests for the appointment of commanders and clans who have no chief. And as I understand the law, if there is an identifiable chiefly line, then it seems to be very it seems to be the wrong thing not to seek for a chief, because it's in the identity of that chief that a lot of the activity of this man takes place. So this is something that I will give careful consideration of and I shall warrant in due course with regard to the decision that I make. So thank you very much. Well done, everybody.
As an attorney, I can't do this. I think what you just saw is very, very key to what we're all. This is a living process. This is what COSCA is all about. This is what State Council, is all about. What the Court is all about. Those are the bonds between us. They're not just bonds of affection. They're business bonds. They have to do with our bloodlines. They have to do with our identities. They have to do with our organizations. And we're so grateful for you to come, go online, and talk to us about that. Please take the opportunity to talk with Dr. Morrow while he's here, with Bruce Story, who's very knowledgeable, with Dr. Campbell, with Bob McLaren, with Malcolm, and others about how this process works. Because it directly affects COSCA, our membership, and the strength of our membership, organizationally and individually. So what we're going to do is take a minute, I don't need 10, bathroom break. Come back, we're behind schedule because we had issues this morning with the AV connection. I think we're past that now. We've got traction. Well, we want to move on. We want to get everything agenda covered. So if you come back in 5 minutes, we'll have the next panel. We're going to be talking about the ASPRA process and strategy and things related to that. So don't go far. And things are looking up in the sunset. See you in a minute. Bye-bye.
Okay, you want to test it? You want to test it?
Okay, Malcolm?
Hi.
Hey. Okay. Can you hear me?
It's breaking up a bit. It could be the proximity to the microphone.
Okay. It's like one of the things we're also having is that the internet connection down in North Carolina isn't the strongest. So that might contribute to the actual audio problems. But
Yeah.
No, just take the back. Right. I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. I see his lips move, but I can't hear anything.
really,
I've got my volume all the way up.
okay. Hey, Malcolm, can you just start talking for a second to make sure that the audio is being picked up in North Carolina?
Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. I can hear you. I'm getting a bit of buzz in the back.
Is the audio sound okay, or is it?
The main thing is if you like to see anything in the crowd before
I'm getting a bit of feedback from the portable mic as well.
Oh, okay. We were wondering if you'd like to say something or say some words before the actual before the actual panel starts to start up again.
Okay. Did anyone read out what I'd sent? Did John read out what I'd sent earlier for the introduction?
No.
What?
Okay. I could read my introduction out to everyone.
Oh, so he has an introduction.
I'm sorry, what?
He said that he has an introduction that he's writing.
Are you breaking up there?
What I'll do. I don't know if it's going to work because my speakers, I hear them talking. There's a lot of background noise, but I don't know if it's going to be loud enough for them to hear. But we'll try.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break for about 10 minutes. And I'll turn the screen on so they can see me. And then I'll fly everybody in and use the speaker. You sound off like you've got a set.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
give tell me to wait about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
what's going to happen is after the break, we're going to see if we can get the audience to quiet down a little bit. And then if you'd like to try to read your introduction, we'll see if the audio levels are good enough for you for that to be actually audible. If you'd like to try that. Malcolm, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So what we'll try to do is we're not too sure if it'll work, but what we can do is we can try reading your intro. Yeah, after the actual, it's gonna be about like a 5-minute break or so.
Sorry, I'm getting a lot of buzzing sound in there too.
A lot of buzzing sound. So is that okay?
Yes. When you speak, I'm getting the buzzing.
Okay.
It's going to try to give 5 minutes off as well. I'm not saying it's going to work. If it doesn't work, it's going to turn it off. Everybody's going to have to really quiet. Turn it around like this. It's not a very good picture. It's not a very good organization. Be speech loud and quiet. Good morning, John Beliside. She can't hear you.
Good morning, John Beliside here in COSCA. We're going to try here as soon as people reconvene in about 5 minutes to give you a little time to give some greetings and say whatever you'd like to say. We're going to try it. It'll work.
Thanks, John, very much.
About 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, David.
The world is singing.
I got plenty of battery. Okay. It's not even plugged in.
The other thing is, if you don't need to, you'll get
I have about 40 guys people are here to send the pictures, but I'm going to put another picture that's and
People want pictures of themselves.
yeah.
Okay. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
I
always try, to keep the ones the whole picture for all. I will send them a few pictures.
I like your flip shoes. How about flip that?
Well,
Let's take a picture of John and I with the background.
oh,
Yeah, that'd be great. We're here.
right.
Here?
David Buchanan.
You see that you heard me.
I can hear you, yes.
I just want to say, g'day, mate. I'm an Australian living in the US as part of Clan Gregor.
Ah, excellent. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. Where are you?
In Canberra.
In Canberra?
In Canberra?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me translate.
No, in Canberra. Which suburb?
Oh, McKellar.
My home
McKellar.
was in Forest.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going back to real time. Nice to meet you.
Very good.
See ya.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We have a couple of other short research that we're going to do right now because there are unfinished business from a while ago. We do have Malcolm Buchanan from Australia. He would like to extend your greetings and offer a few comments. You're going to have to be really, really quiet to hear him. You can see him on the screen here possibly. He can see us, he can hear us, and we hope to be able to hear him. So let's not hear a pin drop, and hopefully you'll be able to hear Malcolm Buchanan.
Thank you very much, John. Susan McIntosh, President of COSCA. Lord Lyons, Malcolm McGregor of McGregor, Convener of Standing Council of the Scottish Chiefs. Lords and ladies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, g'day. And warmest greetings from the Scottish Australian Heritage Council and the ancestral Scots in Australia to our kinfolk there. Today we add another first for our international friendship and communication of ideas in the shared love of our Scottish heritage and culture. A major step was taken in 2014 at the kitchen cabinet held at Sir Malcolm's home in Scotland just before the Bannockburn commemoration, where Sir Malcolm, Susan, Michael Armstrong of Mungbyhurst, South Africa, and I discussed matters about the homecoming at Stirling. These discussions, for example, with the current dialogue about Scotland's diaspora strategy, are occurring more frequently with the use of the internet, when it works, therefore making our ability to formulate coordinated approaches to and with the Scottish Government timely and relevant. The Scottish Australian Heritage Council faces the same or similar challenges as COSCA and the other national diaspora bodies. And we've got several strategies for making the council relevant today so that the caucus sessions that you'll be engaged with will be most interesting. Just as a bit of an update, I wanted to let you all know that we've just announced that the Earl and Countess of Dunmore, Malcolm and Joy Murray, have accepted our invitation to be our Australian patrons. If anyone is, or rather at the same time, we've announced that the honoured guests for Scottish Heritage Week 2015 in Sydney are Alistair Henderson of Fordell and his wife Audrey. So if anyone is coming this way in late June, please let us know. Now you have some very interesting and qualified group of speakers and panelists that will address many issues and some very interesting topics. I believe that Dr. Frank and Susan Davidson are there from the SAHC with you, so I look forward to their update on their return. I only wish I was there to participate more fully. So slunger and enjoy the caucus. Thank you very much.
I hope you're able to hear not most of you were. But technology. Thank you so much for joining us. Now we're going to be able to hear the rest of this better than we were able to hear him. So that's what we could do. We would like to be able to join us. I was now the Buchanan president of the Scottish Australian Heritage Council. My buddy Bruce White over here is living in Australia. Don't be representative by the city. Get to know Bruce a bit. He's treasurer of the American Scientific Society and a native Australian. So, a couple of other loose ends before we get into the panel. I was talking just before we wrote about this whole process, the mining court being a living process, land societies, COSCA, standing council, Board of the Borderline. There's another piece to it, and that is really the Society of Scottish Farmers. There's the Air Arms in Scotland, granted by Borderline. And we're delighted to have with us today Henry Morrison, Mike Campbell, Oxford, who's current Society of Scottish Farmers. And I would like Andrew to say a word or two about the organization, how it fits into this very interesting process.
Thank you. Do you want me to use that?
Up to you. Not being in this space, I want to use lecturing. I think having Malcolm Cannon speaking this out is a great example of what the Lion was talking about in terms of having the diaspora spreading all over the world and the bonds that are so important still linked. And for me, it's very exciting. Australia is my grandfather, the Governor General. I think still the road that leads to Government House is still named on Russell's Drive. So we're very, very proud of our connection with Australia. And of course, I still blame them for killing him off after he'd been there about a year. Take that up later. The Society of Scottish Farmers is really one of these groups that functions mostly in this country to encourage and foster an interest in Scottish heraldry. And like the other society that Don wanted me to mention, which is the Heraldry Society of Scotland, which has a little display out there, and Don would be happy to answer any questions about that. But I mentioned that Dr. Morrow was also an episcopal priest, and in some ways, the Lord Lion is like God in this world of clans and trying to get things right and so on. And sometimes people feel a little anxious